she was laying on her fat. You know,
Wait. Now you have to watch your language.
Because he's 43 years old, he don't want to work.
But you slept with him without protection. So why would you do that?
Because he was my escape plan. He was my dummy, basically.
Judge Lauren presides over the Moore v. Scott case. She reads out the case details, and both parties agree affirmatively. Mr. Moore believes he's not playing a fatherly role, thanks to Ms. Scott refusing access to his child. However, Ms. Scott does not want him involved in her daughter, Elena's life.
You came to court today to prove you are the biological father of 4-year-old Aliana. You and your current girlfriend claim the defendant has played on your emotions for 4 years and has allowed another man to raise your little girl. You are desperate to put the defendant's doubt to rest so you can finally be in your daughter's life. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Scott, you say you are positive Mr. Moore is not your daughter's biological father. Once the test proves you right, you want Mr. Moore to leave you and your child alone. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Lauren blurts out at Ms. Scott over her silence for 4 years, despite knowing the details surrounding her pregnancy. However, Mr. Moore's girlfriend shares an intriguing detail about the time she and Mr. Moore had their son. Ms. Scott, however, denies knowledge of doing that.
This is what baffles me. I mean, 2 young people who can stand up here and articulate with great detail everything about a sexual relationship, but in 4 years, you haven't been able to communicate
Because
in any way about this baby.
He's not
about even to get the DNA test done. You've never met the child.
Never.
Your Honor, can I speak? My thing about it was how I heard of Adriana, and this is why I say he's the father, because when me and Mr. Moore first got together, like 2 months after we had gotten together, I had posted Duntavius on social media, and Miss Scott here, she commented on there, was like, I hope you got money for baby wipes and food and
never did that.
Stuff like that.
Never. Why would I do that? He not her daddy.
While the case lingers on, Judge Lauren shares details of the DNA result. The result surprises everyone in the court, especially Ms. Scott. Ms. Scott does not take this news lightly, but does not seem to have a choice.
In the case of Moore versus Scott, when it comes to 4-year-old Aliana, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Moore, you are the father. You are the father, Mr. Moore. That's your little girl.
The case of Johnson v. Owens seems to respect the dead, as Mr. Johnson discovers a shocking truth regarding the relationship between Ms. Owens and a deceased man, Mr. Tyson. Ms. Owens, on the other hand, agrees to this accusation that it is possible that her son, Dakari, might be late Mr. Tyson's biological child.
How absolutely ridiculous you look right now, both of you. All of this, little one, have a seat. You're not making anybody look bad except yourself.
You up here talking to me?
No, I'm addressing him next.
Oh, well, you should.
So the point is, no. Let's get this straight. I address what I want to address in the order I want to address it. All of this, little one, have a seat. You're not making anybody look bad except yourself.
You up here talking to me?
No, I'm addressing him next.
Oh, well, you should.
So the point is, no. Let's get this straight. I address what I want to address in the order I want to address it. You in here acting silly. You up here acting like this is a stage play. Mr. Johnson, you are not his father.
There it is. There it is. Right there.
And I also had a one-night stand with Mr. Blake.
To make matters interesting, Ms. Hatcher presents a calendar relating to the dates she had sexual encounters with the 3 men. Mr. Scott and Mr. Blake express their shock in this detailed representation provided by Ms. Hatcher. As matters unfold, Mr. Scott makes a derogatory statement that enrages Judge Lauren. While things continue to heat up between Ms. Hatcher and Mr. Scott, Judge Lauren turns her attention to Mr. Blake and questions his involvement with Ms. Hatcher. Mr. Blake shares details with the court. Ms. Hatcher tries to make hurtful remarks at Mr. Scott. Judge Lauren is ready to share the DNA testing results regarding the 3 potential fathers of Ms. Hatcher's son, Josiah. Mr. Sneed is the first to be ruled out as not the father. The second DNA results are in, and Judge Lauren reveals the truth.
Mr. Sneed is not Josiah's father. In the case of Hatcher v. Scott, Blake, Sneed, pertaining to whether Mr. Blake or Mr. Scott is the biological father of 2-year-old Josiah Scott, when it comes to Mr. Blake, you are not the father.
I'm sorry.
When it comes to Mr. Scott, you are the father.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. You happy?
Thank you. That means he has my name and I don't have to change it.
Right.
Thank you.